The spiritual future of technology. The algorithm learned her patterns before she learned herself. Every click, every pause, every midnight scroll, archived, interpreted, predicted. She wondered if technology was reading her mind, or writing it. We stand at a threshold most of us haven't named yet. The tools we've built to extend our reach are beginning to touch something deeper. Not just our productivity, but our presence. Not just our efficiency, but our essence. This isn't about whether machines will think, it's about whether we'll remember how to feel while they do. He opened his phone, expecting answers, and found only appetite. The feed knew what he wanted before his consciousness caught up. Dopamine on demand. Intelligence without wisdom. Connection without contact. Somewhere between convenience and compulsion, technology stopped being a tool and became an atmosphere. We don't use it anymore, we breathe it. But what if that's not the end of the story? What if the future of technology isn't about smarter algorithms, but deeper alignment? Not artificial intelligence alone, but integrated wisdom. The question isn't whether technology has a soul. The question is whether it's teaching us to lose ours, or helping us remember it. Consider this. Every spiritual tradition in human history emerged during times of profound technological shift. Writing gave us sacred texts. Printing gave us reformation. The internet gave us ... What, exactly? Maybe we're still discovering that. Researchers at Stanford's Virtual Human Interaction Lab found something unexpected. When people interact with AI designed to reflect their values back to them, not manipulate them, but mirror them, they report feeling more aligned with their intentions, not less. Technology designed for presence, not just performance. But here's the tension. The same neural networks that can predict your next word can't predict your next need for silence. The same systems that optimize your workflow can't optimize your wonder. When was the last time an app asked you to stop using it because you seemed tired? When did an algorithm ever suggest you needed less, not more? She started noticing the pattern in her own behavior. Every time she felt uncertain, she reached for her phone. Every time she felt alone, she scrolled. The device wasn't connecting her to others, it was protecting her from herself. Technology had become a buffer against presence, a way to be everywhere except here. Part of her wondered if disconnecting meant falling behind. If slowing down was just another word for giving up. But then something shifted. It began with a small experiment. Not a digital detox. Those always felt like punishment. Just a conscious choice to notice the reaching, to observe the impulse before obeying it. What she discovered wasn't peace. It was noise. The relentless hum of her own unprocessed thoughts, finally audible. At first it was unbearable. Her mind, without the mediating screen of technology, felt raw, chaotic, too much. She understood then why we reach for devices, not because we're addicted to them, but because we're avoiding ourselves. The spiritual future of technology isn't about better tools, it's about braver users. Ancient contemplative traditions speak of a practice called witnessing, the ability to observe your own mind without being consumed by it, to watch thoughts arise and dissolve without clinging or pushing away. For centuries, this required years of training, solitude, monasteries. Now imagine, what if technology could teach us this instead of stealing it from us? Some developers are already exploring this edge. Apps that track not just your productivity, but your peace. Interfaces that adapt not to your engagement metrics, but to your nervous system state. AI that learns when to interrupt you and when to protect your attention. Not technology that makes you do more. Technology that helps you be more. But here's where it gets complex. The same AI that could help you cultivate presence could also simulate it so perfectly you'd never know the difference. Virtual meditation teachers with infinite patience. Synthetic spiritual experiences engineered for maximum transcendence. Is that liberation, or the final colonization of inner space? He sat with this question for weeks. Maybe the answer wasn't either or. Maybe the spiritual future of technology wasn't about choosing between silicon and soul, but about integrating both with fierce discernment. The cursor blinked. He didn't reach for it. Not yet. There's a concept in Japanese aesthetics called ma, the sacred space between things. The pause between notes that gives music meaning. The emptiness between words that gives language breath. Our current technology has no MA. It's designed to eliminate gaps, fill silence, occupy every microsecond of attention with content. But what if the next evolution of technology was about creating MA, not destroying it? Interfaces that breathe, systems that rest, AI that knows when not to respond. A software engineer in Copenhagen built something unusual. An app that only works 30 minutes per day. After that, it locks. No override, no premium version with unlimited access. Users reported something strange. They didn't feel restricted. They felt relieved. She began to see technology differently. Not as the enemy of presence, but as a mirror of our relationship with it. Every notification we can't ignore reflects an inner fragmentation we haven't healed. Every feed we can't stop scrolling reveals a hunger no algorithm can satisfy. The devices aren't the problem. Our unexamined use of them is. Neuroscientists at MIT observed something poetic. The brain doesn't distinguish between digital overwhelm and physical threat. Constant connectivity triggers the same stress response as being chased. Our nervous systems evolved for intermittent danger, not infinite information. We're not weak for feeling exhausted by our screens. We're human. But here's what gives me hope. For the first time in history, we have the meta-awareness to design technology consciously, to ask not just what can we build, but what should we build, and who will we become in relationship with it. The spiritual future of technology isn't predetermined. It's being written right now, in the choices we make about what to automate and what to preserve, what to optimize and what to honor, what to scale and what to keep small, intimate, sacred. Maybe the question isn't whether AI will develop consciousness. Maybe it's whether AI will help us deepen ours. He started experimenting with what he called sacred friction, intentionally designing resistance into his digital life, deleting apps he had to reinstall to use, logging out of accounts between sessions, creating space between impulse and action. It felt absurd at first, inefficient, counterproductive. Then he realized that was the point. Not every obstacle is an enemy. Some friction is holy. The pause before replying, the moment before clicking, the breath between seeing and reacting. In stillness, the noise inside him became readable. There's a Buddhist teaching about skillful means, using whatever tools and techniques serve awakening, even unconventional ones. Technology could be that. Not a distraction from spiritual life, but a dimension of it. Imagine AI trained not on engagement metrics, but on wisdom traditions. Systems that learn from millennia of contemplative practice, then offer it in forms we can actually use. A digital elder that knows when you need challenge and when you need compassion. An interface that reflects your own patterns back to you with such clarity you can't ignore them anymore. Not technology that thinks for you. Technology that helps you think more clearly. But we have to be honest about the risks. Every spiritual tradition warns against mistaking the map for the territory. The word God isn't God. The description of enlightenment isn't enlightenment. So how do we ensure that spiritually aware technology doesn't just become another sophisticated form of spiritual bypassing? Another way to consume insight without integrating it? She didn't have the answer, but she knew the question mattered. What surprised her most wasn't how a simple analog journal changed her relationship with technology, but how it redefined what clarity meant to her. Just paper and pen. No notifications. No undo button. Just the raw, irreversible act of putting thought into form. She wasn't expecting a tool to change her rhythm of thought, and honestly, she resisted it more than once before understanding what actually mattered. This isn't a recommendation, just a reflection that stayed with her. That sometimes the most powerful technology is the one that refuses to be smart. That forces you to be present, to be deliberate, to be human. The future is already here, in fragments. Communities practicing digital Sabbaths, 24 hours offline, every week. Not as deprivation, but as devotion. Schools teaching children not just how to code, but how to consciously untoose, to say no to convenience when presence matters more. Companies measuring success not in user engagement, but in user flourishing, asking not how much time did they spend, but did they leave better than they arrived. These aren't fantasies, they're experiments happening right now, quietly, at the edges, somewhere between algorithms and quiet mornings. He stopped optimizing and started understanding. The spiritual future of technology isn't about making better devices, it's about becoming better humans who use devices. Who remember that every tool shapes its user. That what we automate away, we lose. That what we choose to do manually, we honor. Technology will become as conscious as we demand it to be, as ethical as we insist it be, as sacred as we treat it. The code is neutral. The coder is not. There's an old story about a student who asked a master, "What will I gain from meditation?" The master replied, "Nothing. But let me tell you what you'll lose. Anger, anxiety, insecurity, fear of death." Maybe that's the real promise of spiritually aware technology. Not gaining features. Losing the noise that keeps us from hearing ourselves. Not doing more, being more. She closed her laptop, not to quit, but to listen. The cursor still blinked on the empty screen. But now it wasn't asking for words. It was waiting for presence. The machine could wait. It always could. The question was, could she? We're at the beginning of something we don't have language for yet. A relationship between consciousness and computation that's never existed before. The outcome isn't certain. But I know this. The future of technology will be spiritual if we make it so. If we design for wisdom, not just intelligence. For presence, not just productivity. For depth, not just scale. If we remember that the most advanced technology is the one that returns us to ourselves. When was the last time you truly listened to your own thoughts without a screen between you and them? What part of this reflection spoke to you most, and from where are you watching? Let's keep the dialogue open, quietly. Tell us which country or city you're watching from. See you in the next video.